Good morning, everybody. This is Daniel with Peace and Plenty Farms, and I've got a lot to tell you about today. I'm getting the fodder house started. That snowstorm we had, you can see the snow everywhere, is starting to clear out, and so I want to get the fodder house up and running as soon as possible. So you can see I built a fire in there. We've got the smoke is coming out, and you can see the condensation around the windows here, and the snow is starting to melt off of the roof, so we can get going in here. I've got this thermometer here that I can keep an eye on from working around the yard and all, so it's getting up there nice and warm. Nice fire built in there. Going to get it. These are the gutters that I need to install. Okay, so we're going to jump in here where it's a little bit warmer. So I've got the wood right here, and it's really a tight area in here, but I want to get this wood dried out. This is where the gutter is going to run for these trays, and I do have a piece of metal to keep the wood from catching on fire. It actually did one time when I had much shorter logs, probably about almost half as long, and I didn't have this metal piece in here, and the logs actually did start to burn. Okay, so we've got the wood stove going, and let me show you what I've got here. I've got some fire cloth that goes here, but for right now I'm using this pipe. Now this rag, but I'm keeping an eye on it today. This fits inside for the fresh air. Now I found that I've got a valve on here, just a simple plumbing full float valve, and this runs down and goes outside and brings in fresh air. I found that this is really important because it'll suck all the fire will suck all the oxygen out of this small building here and will actually go out. And when I have the propane heater going in here, I need to have the propane really close or connected to this fresh air coming from outside, because it will there again also use up all the oxygen and turn itself off in the middle of the night. And of course, then you've got a problem with it getting too cold out here in the middle of the night. I do have a thermometer out here that is beside the bed in there, and I can just look at it during the night and keep an eye on the temperature out here in case there's a problem. So I've got the water. This gets it nice and humid in here, and this helps with the humidity. And I use this water to, sometimes I'll warm up the water that's in the tank down here with the water from this kettle. And these watering cans are full of water, and hopefully here in a few hours this water will start to get warm. And when I pour my seeds, I'm going to use oat seeds this time. I use these cups. Now it's been 2 or 3 years since I've had this fodder house up and running, so I've got to try to remember. I think it was 12 ounces of seeds. I think I put 12 ounces of seeds in each tray. I'll start out with that this year, but I'll put a little bit of this warm water on in these plastic containers, and I'll get a bunch of these containers halfway full this evening and put the hot water on them, and then first thing in the morning, so about 12 hours, I will spread the seeds out in the trays. 24 hours is too long. It'll start to get mildewy and get bacteria growing in there, so I'll try 12 hours this year. Last year 24 was just too long. And then we can start putting the trays in here. I've got these little screws just to quickly give me a guide to make sure all the holes line up. So this is going to be a process. You'll probably have to just watch the videos as it goes along to really figure out what I'm doing here. The water's still cold. It's going to be a while for that to get warmed up. Okay, now we'll start down here with the tank, and I've cleaned this all out for this year. And it definitely had plenty of junk in it from just sitting all these years. But here's the pump, and I'm going to try to turn the camera around and zoom in down here so that you can see what type of pump it is. It's a high volume pump, and this is actually barely big enough to do this size building. It could be just a tad bit bigger, but we're going to have to make do with what we've got. Okay, this is a bilge pump float for in the back of a boat. Now it's upside down, mounted upside down here. So in other words, the water rises and comes up and it turns off the pump. I'm sorry, not the pump. This valve right here. It closes this valve. The garden hose is hooked to here, and the water that opens the valve, and then the water will run in when the water level goes down. So when the water level goes down, this valve opens and the water flows in and fills the tank up again. It'll be mounted in here just like this, right through a hole in the lid. So here's the lid right here. It's got a couple of various holes that it'll work through. But what I did is I put this bilge pump switch upside down. So the way it works is the water rises and the float rises like this, and it turns off the switch and closes the valve for filling the tank. And then of course when the tank level gets lower like that, the water starts to flow in again from the garden hose. Now I've got a stand-up pipe in here. I'll swing you all the way around. I did get a hydrant put in last year, so I don't have to worry about the garden hose freezing coming in here anymore. So we just leave this on, not at high pressure, just halfway on, just enough so water will trickle into there as we need it. That way, if there's a problem out here with the switch or something, it's just a trickle and it doesn't drain it out too fast. Okay, so that's that. Here's the lid. This is where the water comes in from the gutters. So I'm going to put the lid on it. I'm going to put the gutters in, and I've got to do a couple other little things, and then I'm going to do you a video showing you with the lid on and the gutters in. Okay, I'm completely out of breath, so I thought I'd do a video. That makes sense. So I've got the lid back on, and you can see the valve right there, the 12-volt valve, and the switch I showed you, the bilge pump switch, that's 12 volt, and that little pump down in there is 12 volt. That way I can run this fodder house off of a 12-volt solar system without having to go through an inverter. You can lose 2 amps, up to 2 amps running through the inverter to get to 110 to then run a pump and a switch and all that. But there are so many things available 12 volt, whether it's marine stuff like I used here or automotive things that are 12 volt. So my main system here is 12 volt, and a lot of things run off of 12 volt. My lights and just an enormous amount of things on 12 volt, and I stay away from 110 as much as possible. So we got the lid on, and hindsight's 2020. Like I said, it's been 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years since I had this fodder house up and running, and I forget the little tricks and things that I did before, but I'm remembering them as I go. One of them was that this tank needed to be, when I take it out and clean it, I need to clean underneath of it. The dirt that gets underneath there kind of builds up a little bit. When you put the tank back in, the tank is a little tiny bit high. So next time I'll be sure to clean out the dirt from underneath of it so the tank drops back down, and that way from here I get a good fall. You can see the 2x4 right there, the distance on the gutter. And I've got good fall, but an extra 3/4 of an inch or a half inch would make some difference there. I can't raise it up on the other end down here because it's up against the bottom of the trays at my left, over to my left here. But over to the right here, I could lower this tank down a little bit. Also, the tank needs to go over that way. I forgot it goes tight against that side. So I'd already filled it with water. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I dropped the microphone. I'd already filled it with water, so I had to adjust the hole down here so that the water would drain in there. Now, the next gutter will start right there. There'll be an opening, a little gap, about a 1-inch gap in between the two gutters where they will not touch. And the other gutter will run and it will catch the trays on this side over here. It goes over and it makes a 90-degree angle right here. And it's all sloped so the water runs downhill. So that'll be the gutters. Now, while I was doing that, my water has gotten just about warm enough. I'm going to let it sit for another 3 or 4 hours, and this evening when I go out to close up the animals and do the last feeding and check on everybody, I will start the seeds for the first go around in the trays, and I will spread them out, and that will be the next video doing that. Just in case you're wondering, these are my black soldier fly boxes right here, and I've got videos on those. And this is where the liquid emulsion comes out right here, and this is where the larvae drop out into my bucket, and I feed the chickens with that. So that's what that is. The other gutter, I've got it laying up here. It's cleaned out. It's upside down. I didn't want to step on it or get it full of dirt while I'm, getting this other side started. But it's 80 degrees in here, according to my little thermometer over there. And we're about ready to kick this off. Now, I've got the BioSafe disease control. When I first started this, I used bleach, and someone commented on one of my Facebook pages, and so I was learning. Like I said, this is all new to me, but this is the best way to keep the best way to keep the fungus down is to wait until the little sprouts are completely dry, and then have your water system come on then. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my first set of trays down here, and I'm actually going to just pour the water in from this pitcher, this watering can. Pour it in at the top instead of using the pump system. That way I can gauge how much water, how much time, and all of that, and I'll keep track of that, and then I'll set the pump to that time that I think it'll take and the amount of water and all that. So that'll give me like a dry run. And plus this will be good warm water to help the seeds get started. Okay, well, I appreciate everybody watching, and remember, it's about the harvest.